Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How's it going, guys? I hope everything is going well for you, I guess. I'm here. I am here still dealing with the aftermath of COVID. I'm happy to report I do not have pneumonia, but I do have pneumatitis or something, which is like almost pneumonia, but not. What is it? Food, leftover food. So I have almost pneumonia, but not really pneumonia. So they finally have prescribed me a steroid. And so I now will eventually look like Arnold or whatever with my steroids, I guess. It is not knocked out my cough yet, but apparently the cough is now just an inflammation of bronchioles in my lung. So that's nice. That's good. That's good. Now I'm gonna live and I'm not gonna die. I'm not a COVID stat, and I didn't go to a hospital or anything like that. And the world is gonna be a better place or something. I'm supposed to, yeah. Spectre says tonight, fire rant alongside some roid rage. They told me that when I take this steroid, which I took like 2 hours ago, that I'm supposed to get really cranky and agitated, and my heart's supposed to pound, and I'm supposed to be awake forever, and all I want to do is go to sleep. So they're wrong. They're wrong. Motherfuckers are wrong. Ah! No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not actually mad yet. I will be in a little bit angry. I'm gonna let things filter in, but we're gonna talk a little bit about my meeting with YouTube today and what I have learned about my recent suspension. And every time I think that it couldn't get stupider, it does. It gets just a little bit stupider, and I'm going to confirm something that has been a rumor about what YouTube does. I'm going to confirm that officially today. I have heard this rumor. I have heard that it's a practice that YouTube engages in, but I have never once seen a shred of proof of it until now. I have sufficient proof to confirm YouTube's practice. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Other than that, we're going to have, I guess, a show tonight. I don't know. I've got YouTube on the topic. I don't think that'll take all that long. Then we've got a weird one. Billy Mitchell, the king of Kong, the king of lawsuits. He messages me out of the blue, and he says, "Hey, did you see what happened in the Twin Galaxies case that he's fighting right now?" And I said, "No." And so he told me. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Billy Mitchell versus Twin Galaxies. It's a really interesting situation. And full disclosure, of course, is that I have also spoken with Carl Jobst recently, and I plan to have Carl back on the show. I've been kind of waiting to get my regular channel back to have guests. or to have kind of newer guests. I don't want to bring someone on to the alternate channel to do a guest appearance. That it feels weird. It feels a little weird, but I do plan on having Carl Jobst back on the show. He has been sued by Billy Mitchell over statements he made about Apollo Legend and Billy Mitchell's settlement. And he has been sued in Australia, which does not have the same level of free speech protection that the United States does, and it makes things a little bit more complicated in some ways. But in other ways, it has some advantages as well. And I want to be very clear, as far as I can tell, whatever Billy's lawsuit merits are against Twin Galaxies and stuff like that, I do not believe that he had a valid lawsuit against Carl Jobst. And I do not support that sort of lawfare that he appears to be engaging in as far as Carl goes. I find the Twin Galaxies case really interesting, not because I think that Billy should win or will win, but I do think it's really interesting to see some of what I would call the bullshit defenses for defamation, as far as things that Twin Galaxies is trying to employ. I see those not actually working, and in some ways, it's kind of encouraging. I do think that Billy ultimately may lose that lawsuit, but for now, he has defeated the anti-slap motion, and the big update is that he has defeated that anti-slap motion on appeal. So he defeated the anti-slap motion initially at the trial court level in California, and the case was slated to move on. And now the recent update is Twin Galaxies had appealed their loss, and the appeals court upheld the denial of the anti-slap motion to dismiss. And so the case is still going to trial in December, which is a pretty interesting development, because anti-slaps, I get the concept behind anti-slaps, and conceptually I can kind of agree, but practically I don't think they do anything that they are supposed to do. I don't think they actually achieve the stated goals behind them, and so I don't really support them. It was before Vic that I didn't support anti-slap statutes. I think Minnesota has rightly removed their anti-slap statute. It was ruled unconstitutional back in 2015 because they said you have a judge basically deciding a trial on the merits without having access to the merits or all the tools that protect it. And I don't agree with that. So in this weird way, Billy Mitchell is a guy who takes a lawsuit approach that I think is not correct. I think he's way too happy to sue people. I think his lawsuits don't necessarily have merit, just based on my thoughts on them. But at the same time, he is just because I don't think they have merit doesn't mean that they don't have merit. And he is defeating anti-slaps with apparently some good lawyering. So it's pretty interesting. It's this weird conundrum, because I am not a fan of people abusing the legal process. And a lot of people can fairly criticize Billy Mitchell and say that he is abusing the legal process. In fact, I mean, what I believe part of the basis for his lawsuit against Carl Jobst is that, and if I get this wrong, it's not malicious, but I believe that Carl had initially made some claims that I think he's walked back, that basically said that Billy Mitchell's lawsuit against Apollo Legend contributed to the suicide death of Apollo Legend. And I don't know if that's true, but I can certainly see that as a possibility. And that is something that that should be of concern with frivolous lawsuits. Lawsuits are really, really stressful and nasty business, and subjecting people to them without proper justification is wrong. So, mm. So that being said, I don't know the circumstances of Apollo's personal issues. I'm not fully blaming Billy Mitchell for the death of Apollo legend. I'm also not a person who blames anybody else for a suicide. I think a suicide is basically always an intervening act of the person killing themselves. And so I don't really think you can hold other people liable for suicides in most cases. Sure, there's like an edge case where it's like, I'll murder your child right now if you don't eat a bullet. Like, okay, you know, that's different, but in general, um, and I certainly think that there's probably more going on in Apollo, or was more going on in Apollo's life at the time that made him feel that he needed to take that way out. But you can't deny the amount of stress and nastiness that's involved in a contentious lawsuit, and what it can do to people who are facing ruin. I've seen plenty of people whose lives have been brought to the brink by legal action. So, um, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to try and find the appeal documents on it. And then there's this other thing, because what is a good alternate YouTube channel live stream without the risk of talking about a serious legal issue that's in the news right now that YouTube doesn't want us to talk about in any way, shape, or form? Well, I'll make all the contravailing statements I can and hope for the stars. But we're going to talk about federal supremacy in the context of a vaccine mandate that may or may not actually exist under a federal order that has not been written yet. And a lot of people have asked me to talk about the proposed or purported, I don't even know what it is, vaccine mandate, if it's even real, if it has legal effect. And now we have America's four, as I call her, which is maybe generous. It's just the red hair, but America's four out there talking about federal supremacy, and frankly getting it very, very wrong, very, very wrong. Federal supremacy is a really specific legal doctrine, and states and feds disagree with regularity over whose law is supreme at any particular time, and the states win and the feds win. It's not a simple, well, federal law trumps state law all the time. That's not how it works. Shockingly, that's not how our legal system works. So uh, we'll talk about the existence of the federal vaccine mandate. We'll talk about the um, legal effect of any possible existing mandate, and then we will talk about the federal supremacy clause, which is Article 4 or Article 1, Section 4, I think, of the Constitution. I don't remember. Maybe it's 6. But we're going to talk about it, and we'll do it in a way to try and avoid getting banned on this channel by YouTube. Because I'm not going to give you misinformation. I'm not going to do that. Jen Psaki does give misinformation in her press statements, but I will not. I will give you actual information. So there's that. I have more written down. We'll see how we go. I'm tired. tonight. We'll see if these steroids kick in and wake me up. I don't know if that's going to happen. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time, I will be on Quarter Black Garrett's show, and we will be discussing Event Horizon, one of my favorite sci-fi horror movies. So we will be talking about that because it's October, and he asked who he should talk to about movies, and I was like, "Me, you bastard!" And so I will be on his show tomorrow at 7 p.m. and talking about that. So if you guys want to do that, I'll be posting updates on Locals and on Twitter and Gab and Minds and the Fediverse, verified.af. At the same places I post all of the show announcements. I will try to remember to post on all of them for the show tomorrow. But I'm telling you now, because you're here now, 7 p.m. Central Time, Quarter Black Garrett's show. I think his channel is called Quarter Black Garrett. I think, but I'm not positive. So I'll have the link when it's ready. Okay, let me hit these early super chats, and then we'll talk YouTube. I guess we'll talk YouTube. I never know how much I'm allowed to talk about. But I don't recall signing an NDA on anything I'm about to talk about. So we'll talk about behind the scenes at YouTube. I don't know. People seem to find it kind of interesting when I talk about this stuff because I'm not part of a multi-channel network, right? I'm an independent creator. However, I do have a YouTube partner manager, which is not the most common thing. I've had one for about a year and a half now, and I think it's related to the amount of super chat revenue that I've generated over the life of the channel. I think that's why I got one, because my channel's not that big, and I got one before even having 100,000 subscribers. So that was all very surprising and stuff. And so not everybody has access to a partner manager at YouTube, but I do, and I like to share what I can about that experience. And so I will be discussing my discussion with my partner manager about the banning in just a minute. So I hope you guys find that stuff interesting. I don't know where else you can find that type of content. And there's probably a reason, like most of it isn't exciting. Like most of our meetings are just me wasting time telling jokes for like an hour. But but there you go. Okay, Random Blaze says Gateway Pundit has Eric Coomer from Dominion deposition video and transcripts and have released them. Any chance on you taking a gander at them? They're supposed to be spicy. They're 4 hours long. They're 4 hours long. I thought actually about doing the Eric Coomer deposition tonight. And then I was like, but it's 4 hours long. And I don't know if I want to do that. Viva Fry has done a very competent 20-minute long video about the Eric Coomer thing. I love Viva, and it's a really good video. But I'm going to lay this criticism with all the love and respect I can muster. I really hate when he does the slow motion voice. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate every time that he does it. And he does it like 4 times in that video. And it drives me crazy because I know that like YouTube and YouTube audiences like that stuff, and that those like little cheap edits are really beneficial, then I just hate them. I just hate them. Damn it, Viva. I wish it didn't work for him so that he would do something else, because his video is really smart. It's really good, and I strongly recommend that people check out his video on it for for some very good info, and some selective portions of this 4-hour thing that he clearly, like, that's a lot of work to go through and pull out the clips and all that stuff. And he did a great job. It's a good video. I just hate that damn slow motion thing. I hate it. It drives me crazy. Oh God. Ah, okay. Anyway. You hate it because you can't do it. That's true. I know there's a tool. I know there's a tool in Adobe that'll do it for me. And I'm pretty sure I've seen the tool and I just can't figure it out. But yeah, the short answer is yes, there's a chance I'd be taking a gander at them. Rudy Giuliani has also had his deposition video released in the same case. And I'd be interested in sitting through all of them. I'd have to do them over multiple sessions, over multiple days to do it. And it's weird because I know, like, if I actually do that, if I actually sit down and watch through and talk about what's going on, that a bunch of people will watch them with me, and that it'll be a successful show, especially if I do it like during the daytime. We'll have a couple thousand people sitting down and looking through these depositions and enjoying them or whatever. Like, I know up here that it'll probably be great. But in here, I'm like, why would anyone want to do that? So then you have the doubt, the niggling doubt that comes up. And I'm going to say niggling as much as possible because it makes people uncomfortable. But there's that weird, like, you're going to spend 4 hours for no reason. But I know it's not true. I know it's not true, but it's just a weird thing with those, because a 4-hour deposition is going to take me 6 hours to get through, at least, because I can't just sit there and be like, I'd want to talk. I'd want to, and that's the whole purpose, is to sit there and talk through what's going on, but it would take a long time. So I'm thinking about it. It's also one other thing. It is also very weird doing any of that on this channel and not on my other channel. My 7-day suspension should be up in time for Friday's nighttime show. It should be up for Friday's nighttime show. So I'm hoping that is the case. I'm also still hoping to get the suspension lifted prior. I am also hoping to do that. So we'll see. That's a long way for me to say not very much, but we'll see. I am considering covering them fully. William Smith says, got a random question for you, Nick. Been watching Rand Paul own the libs a lot lately. His dad is basically the folk hero of American politics. Is Rand ready to break his father's mold and win a POTUS election? I don't think Rand has the chops to be president. I think Rand is smart enough. I think he's principled enough. I think he's got good policies, but Rand Paul sounds like a fucking robot. For better or worse, he's just not that charismatic. And probably for worse. But maybe that's what makes him good. I don't know. He just doesn't have the chutzpah, right? To borrow a nose phrase. He doesn't have the chutzpah to do it, I don't think. I'd love to be proven wrong on that. But America, they want something. They want that je ne sais quoi, right? Because they're all French at heart or whatever. They want something with their president to be more than just a robot who recites good policy. That's why Joe Biden was the Democrat nominee, frankly. That's why he became the nominee. And they thought he would be the nominee because all of Joe Biden's idiocy since 2008, you got to remember, has been hand waved away with, but that's just Joe. That's just Joe. You know, he's just Joe. He's just the good old boy Joe who everybody seemed to like in 2008 through 2016. And then he came back in 2020 as the white savior of the Democratic Party because he's still riding on that charm that he allegedly has. I don't see it. I don't see the charm, but the man's got it because they've been talking about it forever. And for some reason, people on the left seem to fall for that charm. They just do. I don't get it. I mean, he's just an idiot to me, and a little tyrant. And he does this tough grandpa shtick, which is weird because it's like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could get beaten up by a bottle of pills, Joe. I'm not really scared of you when you do that. Now it's time to sit down and shut up thing. When he does that stuff, I never feel it. So anyway, Rand Paul, though, does not have it. He just doesn't have it. Whatever there may be. Ted Cruz used to not have it. I think Ted probably does have it now. And it's literally all in Ted Cruz's beard. That changed his entire persona. And it might be manufactured and hollow, but because Ted's a calculating monster, which is why he was such a successful murderer. But you know, he grew that beard and he lightened up and he became really likable in that way. And I think that Cruz has it. I don't know that Cruz is interested in running for president again. I just think that he has the potential to do it. I think DeSantis clearly has it, right? Like DeSantis has got a lot of charisma and popularity behind him. And Abbott would if his legs worked, but they don't. So, but no, I don't think Rand will be president. I don't think he ever will. He's a good senator. He can stay there. General Isimo shoves a clump of sweaty, ragged ones into your waistband in Fat Boys. So you here every night? I heard you like Silky Johnson. You remind me of another performer who also had a naughty lawyer act. I don't know what that means, but it's disgusting. So thank you for ruining my night, Generalissimo. That was horrible. RZEQDW says, quote, Jen Psaki gives misinformation, end quote. Well, obviously, she's a woman. Did you expect Mr. Information? Okay. Look, you don't have the offspring required to make that bad of a dad joke. You do not. So you better stop. You know, I'm revoking your dad joke card. I'm revoking it. You are no longer allowed to do that. All right, I guess let's talk YouTube. I'm going to have to do this first. So yesterday's show is pretty spicy. Many of you know yesterday's show was pretty spicy. It had some it has a lot of downvotes. 29 downvotes. I'm a little surprised about that. Yesterday's show is a little bit spicy though. And but I do want to show one thing here. I want to just illustrate something. So here we go. For all of what I said yesterday, it was manually reviewed and was monetized. So oh boy. So there you go. I have over 100 downvotes on this video? Really? How? There are that many people working on that? That's amazing. I don't know that I've like 100 downvotes is something out of this world. Out of this world. So that's great. Good job. I don't care. But I just wanted to point out that the video from yesterday is monetized, which I found to be absolutely comical because there was some, there was some spice thrown YouTube's way. I guess that's the best way to discuss that. So what are all these windows I have open? Oh, what do you think, guys? What do you think? Should it be done? What do you think? There it is. There it is. There's the ticket. The ticket to my success from now on is right there. Right in these weird ears. Oh yeah, we're going to be the biggest Twitch channel on the planet. You have no idea. No idea how ready I am to break free of these restraints. The $400 one, that's the cheap one. That's the cheap model. The one that Amaranth uses is the same brand, but it's $2,000, $2,000. So that's great. Did you see that Mike S. Miller accidentally sold 1,000 NFTs at 0.0001 Ethereum rather than 1 Ethereum? Oh, shit. That's a big mistake. That's a huge mistake. I did not see that. Wow. No. Short answer is no. Okay. All right, enough stalling. So I wanted to show that the YouTube video from yesterday was monetized. Anytime I talk about YouTube or I go on a rant or whatever, a bunch of very smart people determine that I will be instantly banned from everything, despite me doing it over and over and over again. But I guess it's always possible that when I say that the YouTube community guidelines team are some of the dumbest people on the fucking planet, that they don't understand basic English, and that if if I'm trying to even come up with an analogy about how catastrophically stupid they are, but I can't. So I'm not going to sit and belabor the point. I said it all yesterday in the heat of anger and annoyance, and I stand by it. I stand by it 100%. That being said, so I talked to my partner manager today. Now, a partner manager, let's talk about what they are. Okay, so a partner manager is, or the partner manager program is when you're a YouTube partner, which just means you're monetized basically. You can get invited into the partner manager program. The partner manager is a person that you meet with on a schedule that you determine with them to help achieve various channel goals. Those channel goals tend to involve growth and sustainability, right? Because YouTube wants you to sell ads. And if you don't understand this, every YouTube person that you watch that is monetized is an ad salesman. Our entire job, according to YouTube, is to effectively sell ads to you guys. Sort of. You're not buying the ad. The company that has the product is buying the ad time, and then YouTube wants those ads delivered to you guys. Okay, so that's the whole purpose. Everybody's a salesman. We always have been. The moment you get monetized, and actually now the way YouTube does things, when you're not monetized, you're still an ad salesman. That's why I suggest that pretty much everybody who qualifies for YouTube monetization should get it, because YouTube is taking the ad revenue off of your product, whether you do or not. Right? Like, you make a video and you're like, I'm not monetized. That's a grift. And grifting is stupid. And I'm like, you're the stupidest person on the planet if you think of that way, because YouTube will run ads on your video, whether you take your 45% of the ad revenue or not. There's just no bones about it. If you're on this platform, your content is being monetized. So you can either take your share of the monetization or you cannot. And if you don't do it because of my principles, you don't have any. Like, those principles are fake. Because you're still monetized whether you get it or not. It's a weird thing. It's like, you could go work at McDonald's and get paid $12 an hour, or you could go work at McDonald's and not get paid at all. Like, either way, you're working at McDonald's. You should probably take the paycheck home. But that being said, that's the purpose of every YouTube creator. And then certain ones, for various reasons that I don't understand for most people, get invited to this partner program. You're invited to apply. I applied last, 2019 or something. I applied at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year got accepted. So their job is to help you more effectively deliver ads for whatever reason. Except there are other facets to the partner program. As you guys probably have figured out, I'm not actually good at delivering ads for YouTube. I'm really, really bad at it, actually. My videos do not get a high amount of viewership. I think I'm on a list. Maybe I'm not. Don't know. My short videos do not perform in a way that delivers a lot of ads. And I see a lot of really fucking terrible low rent content do a whole lot better. And I don't understand the difference. I don't understand why it is. And that's just how things work, right? But what I'm good at is alternative monetization. I'm really good at alternative monetization because I generate a disproportionately high amount of super chat revenue. And so that is why I have this partner manager. And so part of, I guess, our strategy from her side of it is to figure out that. But my strategy is actually to increase ad revenue for me, because that's what I want to work on. I want to take more of YouTube's money. Okay? That's fun for me. Taking YouTube's money is the best plan. So I'm trying to figure that aspect out. And we have these nice dialogues centered around that. However, there are some additional perks to the partner program, and you've seen these crop up from time to time, maybe on Twitter, when someone gets yeeted, and like a Keemstar will talk to their partner manager, or Jeremy from the Quartering will talk to their partner manager. I don't know if I had any impact on it, but I talked to mine in regards to Robert Gruler's monetization. I don't know that I'm not taking credit for it or anything like that. I just said, hey, can you put a notice on this or something so they look at it, because this guy's been waiting forever. He should be monetized. And so like that type of stuff comes up. That's one of the perks, is that you have actual access to a YouTube person. And that YouTube person is able to help with some things. So when something like this happens and my channel gets a strike, that person gets the first email from me. And it's usually not like a pleasant email. And they know, like, I'm not yelling at them, but I'm angry about the situation. And I send it. It's your customer service person from YouTube. So just so happened that today was a scheduled meeting already. That I had with my partner manager. And so this is going to be the discussion. No matter what, we were going to be talking about this the moment I got banned. So for the past couple days, my partner manager has been trying to get more information about this strike. And I got some information about the strike today. The specific timestamp, I received the specific timestamp for when I allegedly violated the YouTube terms of service. So that was good. And I listened to the timestamp, and hey, YouTube, I am not making claims about the 2020 election. I'm explaining what was in this timestamp. At the timestamp from the video, I was discussing the true fact, that leading up to the 2020 election, and actually starting back in the 2016 presidential election, there was a narrative in the mainstream media. And this mainstream media narrative was that the election would be impacted by widespread fraud. Now, YouTube, to the community guidelines dummy who's going to listen to this, I am not saying what actually happened in the 2020 election. I am not making a claim about it. And if you think I'm making a claim about it, find glass and start chewing, okay? Because I'm not. So how many contravailing statements I can give? But there was a narrative about the 2020 and 2016 elections that because Donald Trump won the 2016 election and because he might win the 2020, that there would be fraud that would support Donald Trump's victory. Well, when Donald Trump did not end up winning the election, the media immediately flipped the script and said what YouTube says, that there was no fraud, that there could not have been, and that it's all impossible. This is a media narrative shift that occurred in 2021. Technically, it fully occurred on. It was fully nailed in the coffin on January 6th with the inauguration, or with the the counting of the electoral votes. But the narrative started to shift back in November, actually day 2 of the election, when all of those votes came in at night, right? Like that happened. Those are real things. I'm not making any claims about those votes or their validity. YouTube, you can, I am not saying anything about them. Once Joe Biden was determined by the majority of mainstream media networks, and then eventually confirmed by a vote in Congress to be the president of the United States. Once that had happened, the media narrative about the possibility of fraud in the election had shifted from the media narrative that there would definitely be fraud to the new media narrative that there could not possibly have been fraud. Again, I am not making a claim about the 2020 election. Joe Biden is the president. He was elected by the constitutional process that exists, and he is not going to suddenly not be the president. Okay? I am merely stating what I was talking about in the video. And it's important to note that no, I did not have all of the caveats and qualifications, but I've said essentially the exact same thing. The exact same thing. I was talking about the media narrative, and that is what flagged part of the video. Okay? So, part of the video came from that, and someone's inability to understand the basic concepts of the English language. The other portion, and this is where it gets even stupider, came from you. That's right. I can confirm now that YouTube has actually held me responsible for something said in the chat. Not in a super chat, just something said in the chat. Now, they can't tell me what it was, but I know that it wasn't me. So I will confirm that YouTube has, as rumored, they have been rumored to hold a creator responsible for the words of the chat. And that has actually now happened to me. I didn't actually believe they would do it because I've seen you guys. I've seen what you type before. But with that, you'll notice the chat is not on the screen on this video. And until I get more confirmation about it, the chat will not be on the screen in future videos. And the chat will not be preserved on the replay of these videos, because I can't do anything about that. There's nothing I can do. And I said, how am I supposed to manage what someone else says? I said, so in theory, I could create a dummy YouTube account, go on to someone else's live stream, and just say election fraud, or whatever. I could just do that and get their channel banned. And I need to be very clear. My YouTube partner manager is not part of the community guidelines team. And the community guidelines team is extremely opaque, even to partner managers. YouTube has this behind the scenes verticality of how they organize their teams. Monetization is a tower. Alternative monetization is another tower. Then you have community guidelines, which is a separate tower. These teams do not interact. They do not talk. And their decision making about monetization, for example, is disconnected from community guidelines, which is actually, in the majority of situations, a good system that is to the benefit of the creators. Because otherwise, you could flag a channel a whole bunch and get videos demonetized. But you can't do that because of how they have this vertical setup of parallel towers, right? This verticality prevents the sort of cross contamination of bad actors with the report button impacting something like monetization. They work separately. And it's good most of the time. It's bad when you actually get a community guideline strike, because then you can't get a hold of that team. So so that being said, I'm trying to get more clarity on what they expect the creators to do about their chat. Because I was like, I can't ask my moderation team to sit and censor everything someone might say about the election. There's too many chats. It's not possible to do that. So what am I supposed to do? So I'm waiting for answers on that, but I wanted to confirm that this is actually happening, did actually happen to me, according to YouTube. And in the meanwhile, I'm doing something. I'm doing two things. One, the chat is off the screen and it will not be preserved on the main show. However, I am actually currently broadcasting to a private live stream on the archive channel, and the chat should be fully preserved on the replay over there. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I just realized that the chat is not actually being preserved over there because it's got its own chat. So fuck. Okay, we're going to have a different strategy for the next video because that's got a different and private chat. I guess what I may end up doing is I may set up a chat window to screen record and just upload the chat to locals or something. I don't know. I don't know what to do. The whole point of all of this, one of the main reasons I hated uploading things to the archive channel was that the chat was destroyed. It was only saved on the actual like physical video replay, which isn't a good system. I liked that people could search the chat afterwards and all of that stuff. But I can't keep it if it is the risk. Billy Badass. Yes, they're actually penalizing streamers for what's posted in chat. According to YouTube, I was penalized for something posted in chat on my video that got a strike. So, yeah, I thought I was being very clever with the archive channel and the chat. I'll have to work out something different about that. I have some ideas. It's all so fucking tiring. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I wanted to report on how this this strike is progressing. Don't worry though. I'm not supposed to worry because even if this strike isn't able to be lifted, it's only on there for 90 days. Which is just about an eternity. I don't know if you guys know how long 90 days of YouTube is, but it is fucking long. And so the ban on streaming and uploads is only 7 days, but the strike stays there for 90. And if you get another strike in that 90 days, you then have a 2-week suspension, which obviously you want to avoid dramatically. But I'm still working on having it removed. But I hope that I hope you guys understand like why things are being done the way they're being done. I'm as much as I really don't want to fucking do it. I'm going to be looking at multi-streaming to Odyssey or something in the near future. God, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to have to. I don't like splitting people up. I don't like managing all of the extra shit. I don't like doing all of that fucking garbage. I'm not going to stream to Rumble. No, I will not. Stop telling me to stream to Rumble. I will not do it. I will not stream to Rumble. I'm not going to. Every time I've tried to use Rumble, it sucks. I'm not going to do it. I won't do it. No. The system is not good. I'm not going to use it. I'm just not going to happen. I've got an Odyssey channel. That's it. It's going to be like YouTube and Odyssey. I'm not building another one. God, every single extra thing that you have to do amplifies the amount of time and effort by so fucking much that you're constantly managing rather than creating, and I hate it. I hate it. Odyssey is not paid access. No, Odyssey is free. Odyssey has a super chat function and all of that shit as well. I have to figure out how to do it, but adding even adding just Odyssey to the process will make me want to neck myself. I fucking hate adding stuff to the process. It's already this stuff is all hacked together by multiple people. It's by multiple people and multiple systems, are all hack job together. And so nothing fucking works. And every time you add something, it makes it worse. So there's that. But we'll see. I mean, I guess I never should say never. Like maybe I'll stream. I don't want to stream on Rumble though. I don't want to do it. I'm not planning on doing it. If I can never stream on Rumble, then I've done it very well. There really are 213 dislikes. That's amazing. I have never had that many dislikes on anything. I thought you guys were kidding. I thought you were joking. I cannot multi-stream to Twitch, by the way, because I'm a Twitch partner. All Twitch content has to have 48 hours of exclusivity. They have to. So I can't multi-stream to Twitch. It would be a violation of my partner agreement. Otherwise, I would. I would actually. That would make the most sense. Since Twitch is a live stream centric site. If I streamed to Twitch more, it would probably do better for me. But but anyway, that being said, is there anything else I want to say to YouTube or about YouTube other than their community guidelines are shit? I hate them. I hope they all get some sort of tragic but mild illness or whatever. And they suck. Designation 5. The problem with locals live streaming is they don't have RTMPS format, which that's what like OBS connects to. It connects on the back end to this RTMPS server. And until they develop that, you can't actually multi-stream to there. You could do some really weird setup where you stream through OBS and create a virtual camera and output it to the browser streaming on locals, but it would be a mess. It would be a mess. So right, I would love to just multi-stream to locals. I would love that. That would be preferable, but it's not until they get the RTMPS stuff up, it doesn't work. Okay. More chats. More chats. Andrew War Snowboard says, "Can you red pill us on Christopher Columbus, please?" Here, let me. You want me to do an impression of Christopher Columbus? I got it. I'm uniquely able to do an impression of Christopher Columbus right now. Hey, look, I don't know. He's not Italian, but he sounds Italian. We got the natives here. Are you cold? There. I just did Christopher Columbus impression. He was Italian. Oh yeah. Okay. He fixed the problem, I guess. Look, all this Columbus Day shit is bullshit. First of all, it's bullshit for a couple reasons. One, Columbus didn't discover America. Like, I think it's fairly well established at this point that some fucking Vikings, because I saw Vinland Saga, so I know this is true. Some Vikings like got over here first, and or whatever, from the old world, and that's fine. But he still did come here. Well, sort of. He went to the fucking Caribbean or whatever. He still did cross the sea, and he paved the way. He paved the way for other people to come, and it doesn't really matter whether he discovered America or not, because they didn't have the internet back then. So, like, information traveled differently. That being said, the natives were not like wonderful, peaceful, harmonious Pocahontas characters either. Like, what are we talking about? Are we seriously pretending that the native tribal populations in the US and the Caribbean and Central and South America were all these wonderful, peace-loving, cohabitating in perfect harmony, fucking ebony and ivory singing kumbayas? No, of course not. The fact that they didn't have private property rights and were taken advantage of, I guess, by the Western, well, it was Eastern at the time relative to them, but the Western civilization's private property endeavors doesn't mean that they didn't they didn't have property. It just wasn't private. It was communal lands that were territorial that they defended with violence and rape. Lots of violence and rape. It's amazing. Just like every other tribal culture, including the white tribal cultures of the past, violence and rape won the day frequently, because people are pretty good at both of those things. They're really great at it. They're like, you know what? I don't have a lot of qualifications, but I can kill someone and then rape the person next to them. I can do that. I've got lots of qualifications at violence and rape. What was that scene from fucking Blazing Saddles? What are your qualifications? Rape, murder, arson, and rape. You said rape twice. I like rape. Right? Like this is silly. Why are we we're perpetuating the very offensive myth of the noble savage. Um and I'm told over and over that the noble savage thing is bad. Because it is, for one, it's just not historically accurate. But for two, like we're cheapening the reality of this. We're making native populations that are tribal and diverse into a monolith, which is also racist. Um, if we're not if we're being honest here, that is also racist to do, is to take tribal cultures and be like Aztecs, Maya, Inca, or whatever. They're all the same. I mean, they weren't, though. They had differences. It's like calling the Irish the same as the Scottish, the same as the Welsh, and the Irish and the Scottish all both just cringed really hard. It's silly. And the focus on Columbus Day as like this hot button of political dialogue is it's like, really, this fucking day. Frankly, I don't care what they call it. People should get a day off. Burange says it's like generalizing about Asians like you do. All Asians are the same. What are you talking about? Stop it. But anyway, the native populations weren't particularly good or bad. They were just they had their own system. We don't get to look back on any particular population and say, our modern sensibilities say they were good or bad. It doesn't work that way. You judge them based on where they were. They were in a nomadic system of well, some were nomadic, others weren't, of tribal violence and community property, where they owned or they controlled territory. They exercised dominion over that territory, and they defended that territory with violence. Because if they didn't defend the territory with violence, it would be offended with violence. That's just how it worked. And then a bunch of Europeans came over and got them all sick. And they're like, "Oh, this is funny. When we cough into these blankets and give them more of them, they get even sicker, and then they die, and then they don't kill us as much, so we get to take over." And it really sucks, I guess, for people 500 years ago that their land was taken over in an act of dominance by a different culture. But that shit happens around the world with frequency. It just does. And whoever's alive today, it didn't happen to you. And as a native person in the United States, you have plenty of opportunity to either integrate into the regular American society, or you're uniquely able to participate in your own sovereign government within the boundaries of the United States, with your own tribal legal system, the most ridiculously unfair family court system on the planet if you're not part of the tribe, and you don't have to pay taxes on your cigarettes or whatever. So it's like, wait, you have all kinds of choice and opportunity now, and it's really a shame that a lot of people choose to stay on the reservations. I actually think that perpetuating the reservations as their own sovereigns is the most oppressive and horrific thing we can do to modern Native people. And as evidence, I say, go live there. Go live there. As evidence, I give you, go live on the res. Most people would avoid that with as much gusto as they could muster, because it's a shit depressing place to be. for all sorts of socioeconomic reasons. But that being said, what I think we should do as far as reservations has nothing to do with the actual reality. And that reality is that natives today have the choice to either participate in America or participate in the reservation. They can choose the government they want to live under, and no one else actually has that that type of choice. So it's weird. It's a weird system. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but it's what we got. Stop bitching about what happened 500 years ago. You weren't alive. The only native who gets to complain about anything is Donga Iron Donkey. He's the only one because God has continued to curse him with idiocy. Long after he turned his back on everybody else. When are we going to get those Pocahontas OnlyFans, though, huh? When are those coming out? I'm just kidding. The sad reality of the BMI of Native women is not Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Bitch, you ate the blue corn moon and all the other corn. So there you go. I hope that helps. Was that a sufficient red pilling on Christopher Columbus? I don't know. Victor, I'm going to read this one. Victor Sebastian says, Nick, first ever super chat, period. Hey, welcome. I'm glad to be your first. You should do full deposition streams with the hard bastard. You covered Mueller with him. It was okay. He toughs out the longest, boringest hearings. 8 hours equals an average night. Oh, man. I haven't talked to Hard Bastard in a long time. I've not talked to him in a while. How's he doing? I did see we passed 1,000 likes, even though all those Ryuken says It's a Gundam is Native American. Got his Twitch channel destroyed and sponsorship with a game company to not happen because of a white woman. Look, I'm sorry. Did a white woman ruin a Native American's channel? Well, guess what? White women ruin everybody's stuff. Like there is no one is particularly at risk of being ruined by a white woman except for everybody. All of them. Everybody's at risk of the white woman curse. Like that's just how they do. It's like, when you're playing like a game, right? And it's like, pick your race. And you're like, oh, this is going to be spicy. I wonder if there's inherent racial traits. And you choose white woman. It says everybody is at risk from your wrath at all times. That's the racial trait of white women. Doesn't mean that all white women are going to ruin something for someone else. It just means that is the special ability of white women. They just, and I think largely it's not their fault. It's the simps. It's the simps who caused the trouble, right? Because the white woman on her own is just complaining. But it's when some weirdo simp goes, yes, Queen Slay, and then they run in with like a suicide vest on and blow up the building because the white woman's gas costs 12 cents more than it was supposed to or whatever, and the clerk didn't get to her in the requisite 4-minute window of time. So she wrote a letter. She made a TikTok video, and some simp drove a bus through a school window. I don't know. It's how it goes. That's how it goes. And all other women are like, we're trying to get access to whatever white women do because that's amazing. They're trying to figure it out, but they can't. They can't. But yeah, so look, It's a Gundam's a good dude, but he didn't get ruined by a white woman because he's native. He just got ruined by a white woman because that's what white women have the power to do. They're supposed to wield it with caution. And they don't sometimes. Sometimes. But see, that's the danger. That's the power. It just takes one. It just takes one. Look at how much damage Jen Psaki does on the average day. I mean, she's horrifying. And she's not even pretty. Phoenix Aurum. I was actually right about to read it, buddy. Here we go. It was next on the list. He says, hey, Nick, just started the Child's Play TV series, and surprise, surprise, it's not terrible. Really? Fingers crossed it stays this way. Also, I noticed you share a laugh like him, and it's been messing with my head. Godspeed. I didn't know there was a Child's Play TV series. If I did, I would have had no hope for it. But but you're saying it's not terrible. Oh, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Zypher Warrior says white redheads have the power to destroy nations. It's true. It's true. It's true because every man in their presence is like, God, I wonder, is it red? I mean, like the same red? I gotta know. How do I find out? Because that's what every guy's doing. Look, ladies, I'm just giving you the reality. These are just facts. These are just facts. I'm just telling you how it goes. That's that's what they're all wondering. They're all wondering. Okay. Brian Dewig says, are there any legal implications for holding someone responsible for a different person's speech? No. I mean, I talked about this yesterday. Oh, we do have to have the vagina talk in just a minute here. We do have to have the vagina talk in just a minute here because there's something that happens every time I call someone a vagina, and it happened today. It was an innocent thing by the other party. It was not innocent by me. It was very intentional by me. But we're gonna have to have this vagina talk because I'm the simping. It's baked into male DNA, and you have to be on guard for it at all times. You have to be on constant vigil against simpery. You have to. And I will show you what I mean because I guarantee this happens every time. It doesn't just happen to me. It happens every single time. And men, I expect you to be better. So we'll do that in just a minute because this is very important. This is very important. So I talk, but back to the question, which is, are there any legal implications for holding someone responsible for a different person's speech? I mean, not unless there's some sort of legal implication based on the outcome, right? But here's the problem, and it's the advantage that YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all of these social media companies abuse this same advantage. The risk, the cost, I should say, the cost versus reward for trying to hold them legally accountable for their actions is skewed so heavily in favor of the social media channel that almost no one has an economically viable approach to a lawsuit. So, like if one of you guys gets banned from Twitter or YouTube or whatever, do you want to spend $150,000 to $200,000 fighting for your account back? Probably not. Do I? Maybe. Maybe not. But you have to be a pretty high earner on the platform, like that your account has to have a tangible level of value that is lost that approaches that value of, or that cost, to make it even start to be worth it. To even start to be worth it. For Twitter, obviously, for me, no. My Twitter account does not hold that much value of any kind. YouTube, it's a different story. But for it to actually start to matter, I would have to fully lose YouTube. I'd have to fully lose YouTube. And then, there would be, okay, well, now we've got a breach of contract. That breach of contract has caused this tangible amount of damage. Tangible amount of damage, if I were to win, would balance against, the cost of litigation and the plus the added risk of if you don't win and how much more that could cost you and all that stuff. Those are all very complicated questions. And really, you have to be a top 1% earner on YouTube to even consider it. And I don't think top 1% earners even have it there. I think it's more like top 0.1%, maybe 0.3, 0.5. But you have to have an annual income on YouTube of something like $250,000 for it to start to be worth it. Because otherwise, if you don't lose the channel, if you don't lose your account entirely, like let's say for me, right? YouTube has cut me off from the main channel and has probably done a small permanent amount of damage to my ability to generate super chat income, right? They're probably pissed somebody off to the point where they're not going to send any more super chats. It's a likely outcome. So over the course of the week, I stand to lose. If I didn't stream at all, for 1 week because of YouTube, I would stand to lose somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000 pre-tax or whatever. Since I'm streaming, that's mitigated. So now I'm not going to lose as much. I'm still losing money based on what I would normally earn. That's the reality. But even if we take that $3,000 to $5,000 loss, okay, we take the maximum loss. Is that worth $100,000 lawsuit? No, it's just not. And the moment you bring it, they go, okay, you're out of the partner program. We don't need to keep you. We have no obligation to do so. We'll just fulfill the terms of the partner agreement, which might be like notice, 30 days notice, and then you're gone forever. We'll pay you out and it's done. So that's not worth it. And if you've lost the whole thing and you lose like, $250,000 in annual income, then maybe it's worth it. Maybe. It's just too fucking expensive. So what happens with everybody, right? When they get banned from somewhere, they try and pick up the pieces somewhere else. Because it's a better use of your time and money and resources. Like, let's say this. So you get banned on YouTube. And, you go, okay, I can spend $100,000 on legal representation and take YouTube to court, or I could put $100,000 into a business endeavor, either building a channel on Twitch, building a channel on Odyssey or Rumble or whatever, I guess. And you could focus your efforts there. You could use that $100,000 to either pay bills and expenses. You could use that $100,000 to buy new equipment, to buy advertising, to build a website, to do something. And that's what most people end up doing, because it's far more productive than to wallow in what you've lost that you probably won't get back. So yeah, that's are there legal implications for holding someone responsible for a different person's speech? The ultimate answer is only if there are legal implications for whatever you do to someone, whether or not it was their speech. Only then. Now, I don't know that the YouTube partner agreement has a requirement that you need to keep your chat from talking about the 2020 election. I don't know that that's a real thing. So maybe if they claim that you violated your partner agreement, you might have a case on breach for that. So maybe you'd win there. I don't know. The real hard part is you don't usually find out exactly what did you in. General Isimo says, Ricada Media, Jesus H. Christ, how fucking arbitrary is that? Anyone could target a bot to spam a channel into being banned. I've come to appreciate your background noise while we in chat communicate. Your rights matter-ish. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's obviously unfair and unjust. There's nothing good about it. And YouTube didn't used to have these policies. They only have it. There's only 2 subjects where they have these types of policies. It is the 2020 election, and it is COVID vaccines. That's it. Everything else is flexible, fungible, and the same YouTube that we all remember from like 3-4 years ago, which is pretty hard to actually get banned from. So long as you click the right radial buttons and stuff. But those 2 subjects got special treatment, and YouTube is, I think they're desperately trying to figure out how to manage their policy changes, because it's unwieldy. It's unwieldy. Frankie Ramon says, since you need a laugh, HoloLive VTuber Nene Chi has made Playboy Japan's hot woman of the week. Seeing a waifu in the middle of 25 beautiful women is beyond hilarious. Shout out to her, though. I fucking hate VTubers. I really hate VTubers. Iric Bloodaxe, I agree. They could just not censor people. Lost Bullets says, watch it with the native talk, Buster. Don't make me put the mental image of Lizzo and Tess Holiday scissoring in mud with one of those ASMR mics up you know where. Describe what that would sound like. Would probably sound like you masturbating. Boom. Boom. Okay. Sheldon Hall says, I will have a story for you to follow very soon. Turns out my cousin was arrested and accused of murder 2 weeks ago. Happened in Rochester, New York. Her name is Shannon Reinholtz. Oh, damn. Did she do it? Did she do it? Stormcrow 900 says, wait, you're born in America, right? Like 99% of other white people in America? Doesn't that make you a native? of America? No, not according to Twitter and wokeness, where reality doesn't apply. Everything is still happening from 500 years ago. And if you talk about today, then you're a bigot. Then you're a bigot. Okay. Let's do this. Here we go. We got to do this quick vagina talk. Okay? Look, this is just how it goes. Ladies, this isn't about you. It's just about a part of you, sort of. Not actually your parts though. That's something to remember. It's not about your parts. Here we go. Oh, I got to change this. I forgot. I'm on a different setup. Different setup today. All right, here we go. Now we are going to fix this. Okay, Razor Fist has a tweet. Dan Slott. Do you guys know who Dan Slott is? He's a comic artist. God, he's fucking fat. Of course he is, right? He's a comic artist. Here. Let's pull up this fucking fatso. There's Dan Slott reaching for a hamburger or whatever. Here's him next to the little Spider-Man guy or whatever, I guess. This is Dan Slott. If you don't care who Dan Slott is, that is the healthy reaction. Comic book writers are artists. They just don't draw. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So he wrote a tweet. Dean Cain is the Scott Baio of Kevin Sorbo's. And if that isn't funny to you, well, then you're just a normal person. Okay? It's just not a funny tweet. But this is the top quality of writing content that comes out of Marvel. Okay? The reason that this has come up, the reason that this is here is because Dean Cain was Superman in Lois and Clark. Right? Back in the 90s, that Superman show, Dean Cain played as Superman in Lois and Clark. And he said that John Kent, the new Superman, Superman's son, being bisexual is not brave or special. It's not inspiring. It's not powerful. It's just a gimmick. He's right. Everybody knows that this is just the logical thing. So, Lady Raggets and I are watching The Expanse, right? And we're on season 3, and some new chick is there, and she's like a speech writer, revolutionary, religious person, whatever. And she's now brought in, and she calls home, and of course she's a lesbian, because of course she's a lesbian. And I turned to Lady Raggets and I said, everybody's fucking gay now. Like, everybody's gay. In all of these shows, everybody is gay. Because that's the cheap way. Like, it's The Expanse. It's far in the future. Her being gay isn't important. But they took a lot of time to introduce the gayness of this character. Biracial gay relationship, of course. Because not only is she gay, she's like so gay that she likes black people, right? That's very, very important that you know that not only is she gay, but she's gay all the way to black. is just a cheap way to write characters now for whatever reason. Homosexuality has been reduced to a device for literature, which should bother the gays. It should actually bother the gays that their identity that they've been fighting for recognition for is now a literal writer's crutch. And they don't care about your gayness. They don't care that you like to eat dick or whatever. They don't care that you're a woman who likes to bridge the canyon or whatever, or spelunk in the pink taco. They don't actually care about your preferences. You are a device for Dan Slott or whoever. You are just your whole identity, all of that stuff, your sexuality is reduced down to a rhetorical device for them to cheaply, quickly explain something about a character. And I was actually have a video planned for this particular channel, which is it's a sort of book review of Luther. Luther is 40K character. He was he's Lionel Johnson's sworn brother, not really his brother, but like his adopted brother. And he's high up in the Dark Angels, and there's a big betrayal and all this stuff. And the book is called Luther. This is a pretty decent book. But see, 40K has this problem in the literature aspect of it. They're writing characters, and this is a tangent, but you know what? Fuck all your downvotes. You're getting tangented, bitch. They're writing characters that are superhuman. Their mental abilities are beyond humanity, and Primarchs are a step up from that. Luther is not a Primarch. Luther's not even a Space Marine, but he is the best that humanity has to offer until the Primarch Lionel Johnson is found on their planet. He would have been a planetary leader. He is exceptional. He's an exceptional character. And you run into this all over 40K. The Primarchs are genetically superior. Their minds are faster, and they work on a level that humans don't actually understand. They're super geniuses. Well, there's a cheap way to do this, and you can only do it in literature. But how you write a super genius in literature is you just make their plans work, right? Their plans just work. And I mean, they get to explain them and talk about how there's a pattern to this, and they're born in the essence of war, and they understand the ebb and flow of tactics and all this shit. It's like, but at the end of the day, the writer just writes the plan that worked. Like, the plan worked. It doesn't matter if the plan was particularly good or bad, because the suspension of disbelief says, oh, this plan is so brilliant that it was going to work because this person is so brilliant. So you use these shortcuts, and you have to use these all over literature in general, because you don't have the pages, you don't have the time, and it works really well in literature. It works less well the more visuality you introduce to a medium, because you have other factors and you get to cheat in other ways. That's the trade-off. You don't have to describe a character. You can just dress them and tell the audience a lot about the character based on how they're dressed. That can be enough of a backstory or whatever. And you get to use these cheap sort of gimmicks to get around. All of that to say, the fact that John Kent wants to put his dick in a man's butt and then drop his super semen out the man's mouth with a bloody ejection, that is literally just a device. It's just a hack, a cheap cut through to characterize the new Superman without any effort, because everybody is now going to bring all their assumptions about gayness into this character, or bisexuality, or whatever you want to say. They're going to bring their bisexual baggage to the character, and that's intentional. So Dan Slott and all these people defending the just rash of gay superheroes, gay major characters across all different medias. They're just everywhere now. None of them want to admit that they're just using gayness as a plot device. They didn't build these characters to be gay. They didn't build these characters with the idea of like all this stuff coming in there that somehow molded and sculpted them. None of that is inherent or critical to the character. It's just a cheap way for them to go, okay, these people will make their assumptions about gays, and then they'll apply it to my character. That's it. That's what they did. Backgoat with a big donation. Thank you. Pulled a $7,600 bingo tonight. Enjoy. Hey, you enjoy, buddy. That's awesome. Congrats. Congrats. Very cool. And I appreciate you sharing with me. But I'm very happy to hear that you got that big bingo. That's phenomenal. But okay. That was a long tangent. All right. Anyway, Dan Slott. Dean Cain is the Scott Baio of Kevin Sorbo's. He could have made it better by saying Dean Cain looks like the James Woods of the Scott Baio of Kevin Sorbo's. Conservative. Got him. But he didn't. Now the next. Here's what happens next. Slot is a euphemism for vagina. And this is a joke intended to be on the level of joke that Dan Slott has, right? Like this is a throwaway joke. And it is. Slot is a euphemism for vagina. Same as like a bearded axe wound or the bloody bounty or whatever you want to call it, right? There's all sorts of words. This is a throwaway. But without fail, when you call someone a vagina, this happens. Where is it? Here it is. Now don't be mad at the Lancaster kid. It's not his fault. It's not his fault, okay? Now that's just an insult to actual vaginas. Slot is more like Gen X Michael Moore. Okay. Without fail, if you call someone a vagina, somebody's going to call you out and they're going to be like, no, vaginas are great. Vaginas are the greatest thing ever. They're the best. Love vaginas. I'm straight. Right? Let me just be the first to say it. Hashtag not all vaginas. I'm tired of this. This needs to stop. Not all vaginas are good. Not all of them are good. You don't want to be around probably most of them on this planet. In fact, I'm going to go out and say it. The majority of vaginas are horrible places. Horrible. Half of them are haunted. They're haunted by ghosts of babies past. You probably don't want to deal with the smell or you don't want to deal with the fucking infections. You don't know where these bitches have been these days. No. This stops today. This stops today. Most vaginas on this planet, you don't want to be anywhere near them. You don't. I don't care how grimy you are. Your level of griminess is always surpassed by one rank lady part. You can be a steadfast, true Chad, and you'll be like, whoa, though. I mean, no. So I'm just saying, this needs to stop. Stop putting it up on a pedestal. Stop all that. That's your inherent biological simpery that you gotta break the conditioning, like Alex Jones or whatever. You gotta stop. You gotta stop that. You can't let that run your life. You can't do it. Gummy Drexel definitely does not disagree with me. I guarantee Drexel agrees with me 100%. It's the natural reaction, guys, to be like, no, I love vaginas. It's like, no, you don't. You love maybe a couple. You might like a particular one, or maybe like a particular like 2 or 3 or whatever or something. But if we started doing a survey, more often than not, you'd be like, oh, 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 God, no. And as evidence for this, because I always bring the facts. I always bring the facts, okay? See? Nobody wants this. Nobody wants that. Ew. Horrifying. Stop it. Like, I'll spare you. We get to call people vaginas as an insult. You can't stop us. I will cure you. Of your inherent biological simpery forever. I will fix you. God, it's fucking horrifying. Ew. I do feel bad about it. I do feel bad about doing that to you. I'm sorry. But it had to be done. Ugh. Gross. You shall never forgive me. Well, maybe next time you'll think about it. Oh, well, let's spam him with dislikes. Yeah. Reconsidering that now, aren't you, you sons of bitches? Okay. That being said, let's get on to some legal talk. This is still ostensibly a law show. You can clearly see that this is not being well received. It's ratioed already. Anyway, yeah, I started losing viewers when I started talking about vaginas, and I lost a whole lot more when I brought up Lizzo. Worth it. Truth matters. Truth hurts. Lady Babylon says, as a woman can confirm, vaginas have good and bad days, just like balls. And look, they're just good and bad vaginas too. There just are. Lizzo's vagina has never had a good day. Never in her life. Never will. It'll always be terrible. It'll always be, it's like Tartarus. Right? That's where Zeus sent the Titans to suffer in all of eternity. It's a giant black void. You don't want to be there. Nobody wants to be there. Even the immortal Titans don't want to be there. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's listen to Jen Psaki.
Going back to Texas, what is the president's message to businesses in Texas? You mentioned several of them who are based there.
Yeah.
When it comes to what the federal guidance is now, and now with the state executive order, what would the president say to those companies as they're determining what they should be doing right now for their vaccine mandates?
Well, we know that federal law overrides state law. I would note that earlier when we put out our guidance on the president's announcement about mandates several weeks ago, it made clear that, again, as I said earlier, requirements are promulgated pursuant to federal law and supersede any contrary state or local law or ordinance. Additionally, nothing in this guidance excuses noncompliance with any applicable state law or municipal ordinance. We put out guidance several weeks ago conveying that clearly. But fundamentally, beyond the legal aspect, which is unquestionable in our view, the question for any business leader is, what do you want to do to save more lives in your companies?
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack in that statement. So let's start talking about this legally, because this is, at the end of the day, a legal show. Let's pull this up. How do we let's pull up the authority they're talking about here. So Jen Psaki is referring to something called the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. And we're gonna talk about the existence of the mandate in just a minute. Article 6, paragraph 2 of the U.S. Constitution says, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof," this is really fucking important, "and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding." Okay, so here is what they're talking about. Federal supremacy over state law. Now, this has a couple different implications and interpretations, but let's break this down into normal people speak, okay? At a basic level, a federal law passed under the authority of the United States Constitution has supremacy and preempts state law, regulation, ordinance, statute, whatever. That's at a basic level. Now, there's a whole lot of caveats and provisos. And you know that scene from fucking Aladdin where the genie's like, well, there are a few provisos, blah, 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 right? Like he does the legal speak. That all fully applies to this. So let me break this down for you. There's a really, really important part. "And the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof." The Supreme Court has been fairly clear in Supremacy Clause jurisprudence that federal supremacy applies when three things occur. One, Congress passes a law. Let's say that again to the Psakis in the back. Congress passes a law or a treaty is made, which, if we're keeping track, treaties require the ratification of the Senate. But that's the first step. Congress has to pass a law. Now, the federal government has also recognized federal regulations, or I should say the Supreme Court has also recognized federal regulations, which are not Congress passing a law, but they have recognized federal regulations as sufficient to trigger the Supremacy Clause. But it relies on number 2 and 3. Number 2 and 3. So first is Congress passes a law, or a congressionally created regulatory agency under the executive passes a regulation. Okay, so now we've expanded that a little bit. And 2, Congress has expressly stated that they intend to supersede state law. That is explicit supremacy. It's written into a bill that Congress proposes and passes and becomes law. They have to expressly state their intention for federal supremacy, or the law or regulation, this is number 3, the law or regulation must be written in such a way that there could be no doubt that Congress intended supremacy in this particular law or regulation. That is how federal supremacy works. It is not so simple as herder federal government wins. That doesn't always happen. Now, before anybody goes out there and wants to make a bunch of bad arguments about federal supremacy and say, well, weed would still be illegal, immigration sanctuary cities wouldn't work. Wrong, 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 wrong. First of all, weed is still federally illegal. And if the feds change their policies on enforcement tomorrow, they, under existing jurisprudence, would win. Now, they might not. They might not, because of how they've been going, and they might decide that their decision to reinforce the law is now arbitrary and capricious, and they've demonstrated a willingness to allow states. That's a long legal argument that has not been decided yet and would probably take 3 years to get to the Supreme Court, and we don't need to discuss that right now. Under existing jurisprudence, if the federal government decided to enforce, like if they wanted to go into Colorado and say, all you motherfuckers running state-operated farms and stores selling weed, right now, you're all under arrest for violations of the Controlled Substances Act of the United States, they win. They win. The only reason weed is legal is that the feds are not enforcing it. The feds have traditionally won on federal supremacy grounds on marijuana every single time they try it. They win. Controlled Substances Act has federal supremacy and they win. The DEA wins over state sheriffs. They always win. So don't go out onto the Twitter or whatever and try and make the argument about weed is a good example of federal supremacy losing. No, they win when they try. They just haven't been trying since 2012 or something, 2013. So the feds have that power. I hope they take it away. I just think they need to. First of all, marijuana does not belong as a Class A controlled substance. It doesn't fit the definition of narcotic that every single other drug on the list does. It's the roots of why marijuana is illegal are all bullshit. It's based on bad science, bad studies, and a little bit of racism, and then a bunch of boomers. Like that, at the end of the day, it's a bunch of boomers. If alcohol is going to be legal, there's no reason that marijuana should be illegal. If sugar is going to be legal or caffeine, there's no reason for marijuana to be illegal. It has the same mind-controlling or mind-altering effects as any of those, and it actually has a far less overall negative health effect than any of those things. So, and I'm not a weed user. I don't really fucking care. it does, I've done my share of marijuana from time to time, and I've never really thought it was all that great. But, that being said, Woods Walk, fuck you, you shut up. It was based on racism. It really was. Mexican racism. That was part of it. It's a reality. Get the fuck over it. Like, the fact that they chose to go after marijuana had a lot to do with immigration and the Mexican border. It's just part of it. It doesn't make it good or bad or anything, but it's there. Don't tell me to shut up. It's a fucking fact. And if you don't like that fact, you don't like facts. I don't know what's wrong with people. God damn it. Just because something is or isn't based in racism doesn't have anything to do with its validity. It's just, it's just part of it. And their entire reasoning for making marijuana illegal is partly based on racism, which means that it wasn't based on science, and it wasn't based on reasonable or rational decisions about the efficacy. Yeah, I'm going to say efficacy too, of the fucking drug. Their reasons for making marijuana illegal were skewed, partly based on racism. That's not a good reason to make law. So Jesus fucking Christ, get over yourself. Like, there are realities in this world that exist, and we can talk about them. And if you can't talk about them, you're a fucking baby who can't deal with anything. And I'm so goddamn tired of it. Yes, some things were racist. We can talk about those. Jesus Christ. the like vehemently anti-racist people are as fucking annoying as the anti-racism people. Like, it's gotten bad, guys. We can't discuss anything because if you try and just bring up a reality about something, someone's like, you can't talk about race. Why does it make you so uncomfortable? Why can't you deal with the fucking fact about something? It's okay. It's okay that some shit was based on bad ideas. It's fine. It's a reason to undo it. It's part of the reason to undo it. Oh, Jesus. Oh, yes, it was the Rockefellers. Had nothing to do with Mexican hating racists. It doesn't matter about Mexican hating racists. It's based on, in part, Mexicans bringing marijuana across the border. It's just fucking real. Not everything is a fucking Jewish Kabbalish conspiracy. Not everything is the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and Colonel Sanders. Like, not everything is just three people who did it. Send me the link to the brilliant YouTube documentary that tell me it's the Rockefellers so I can find a gun, put it in my mouth, and watch and wait for the wonderful logic behind all of it. Jesus. Let's get back to the point. The reasons behind federal marijuana illegality are not sound. They're not consistent. They don't make sense. And it's time for them to go. I don't care if you think that it was a Jewish conspiracy. I don't care if you think that it was an evil capitalist conspiracy. I don't care if you think that it was Carnegie Mellon, the Carnegie Mellon Institute. I don't care if you think that it was the fucking Waltons. It doesn't matter. It's all bad. It's all bad reasoning. It doesn't have any basis in law, fact, science, or rationality, and it's time for it to go. Pick the person that you hate and blame them, and then that's the reason, and it's still a bad reason. Oh, Jesus. All right. So that tangent aside, guess what? Until they change the law, the feds will win. The feds have won on this every time, and they will continue to win on this, notwithstanding a massive shift in Supreme Court jurisprudence. So don't go out there and talk about weed as a good example of federal supremacy not winning. In a similar vein, sanctuary cities are the exact same. Sanctuary cities are the exact same. Sanctuary cities are not a good example of state law winning over federal law on the issue. The reason sanctuary cities end up working is because the federal government relies on state partnerships to enforce federal law. When the states don't want to follow those partnerships, when the states don't want to do that, the federal government has trouble forcing them, as they do, right? It is hard to compel behavior from a state, for the feds. However, if the federal government were to choose to devote tons of resources into a sanctuary city like San Francisco and focus on enforcing federal law, specifically federal immigration law, they could do that. It would be resource intensive. They wouldn't have local law enforcement support. It would be wildly unpopular in the city. The feds would probably receive all sorts of backlash. It would be politically inexpedient for some of the people involved. And so they don't do it. But if they took it to court, they would win. They would win on federal enforcement of federal law in sanctuary cities. They would win, because that's how supremacy works. So in the same way that marijuana is a bad example, sanctuary cities are a bad example of how federal supremacy loses. The federal government choosing not to enforce law is not an example of the federal government losing. It's an example of the federal government choosing not to enforce federal law. But we have to go back. We have to go back and listen to this one more time. How is there no fucking sound? Oh, God damn it. All right. We'll start it back at the beginning.
Going back to Texas, what is the president's message to businesses in Texas? You mentioned several of them who are based there.
Yeah.
When it comes to what the federal guidance is now, and now with the state executive order, what would the president say to those companies as they're determining what they should be doing right now for their vaccine mandates?
Well, we know that federal law overrides state law. I would note that earlier when we put out our guidance on the president's announcement about mandates several weeks ago, it made clear that, again, as I said earlier, requirements are promulgated pursuant to federal law and supersede any contrary state or local law or ordinance. Additionally, nothing in this guidance excuses noncompliance with any applicable state law or municipal ordinance. We put out guidance several weeks ago conveying that clearly. But fundamentally, beyond the legal aspect, which is unquestionable in our view, the question for any business leader is, what do you want to do to save more lives in your companies?
Notice she says it's unquestionable in her view, or in their view. Okay. First of all, no matter of law is unquestionable, ever. No matter how frivolous, petty, ridiculous, unquestionable law gets questioned all the time. So that's a stupid thing to say, but that's a propaganda thing to say. And she is a propagandist. That's her entire job, is to be the mouthpiece of the White House. But that being said, we have to get down to the original question. The original question is there a federal law about the vaccine mandate? Now, YouTube, I am not talking in any way about the efficacy, about the effectiveness, wisdom, science, anything about the vaccine. In fact, I am not making a single fucking claim about the vaccine. I don't care about the vaccine. Not a doctor, never have been. I don't talk. Some dumb motherfucker on Twitter was saying that I was spreading COVID vaccine misinfo, which is obviously not true. I don't talk, like, I don't know anything about it. The chat always spams me with it's an mRNA thing or whatever. Great. I'm not here to talk about it. That's not my job. Never has been. What I'm talking about is mandates. And let's go to here we go. The Federalist has written about this, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit. So this is not about the effectiveness of the vaccine. This is about a really interesting question of, is there even a mandate? Joe Biden has talked about a federal vaccine mandate being applied to employers, to federal, any employer with 100 employees or more, federal contractors. Jen Psaki is talking in front of the nation about how they think that federal law trumps state law and that it's unquestionable, when asked about states like Texas, where Governor Abbott has said that no vaccine mandate can be enforced in the state. So we've got this weird conundrum, though, that there isn't an executive order and there aren't regulations currently promulgated that would actually give legal effect to what Joe Biden says. And that's a weird problem to have. But it goes towards, let's get this out of the way. Because I'm right, and I will always revel in being right. I will always revel in being right. The federal government said it. But all of your fucking employers want it. All of them. They've been begging for someone to blame for this. And that was the point of Joe Biden's speech. That was the point of Joe Biden's proposed but not affected mandate, is that now all of the employers, all of them, have cover to blame Joe Biden, to blame Biden for implementing their own mandates. They want COVID-19 vaccination mandates by and large. The overwhelming majority of employers who have 100 plus employees want the mandate. They just don't want to deal with the fallout. They wanted someone to blame, and Joe Biden gave them exactly what they wanted. Now, I get it. Not your employer. Your boss is based in Coofpilled. I know. I know yours doesn't. But we're talking about, these are big employers, right? They move with the tides. They're like jellyfish. They just want to float along and sell their widgets and ship them across the country. That's what they want to do. They don't want controversy. They don't want political things. It's why they'll fire you over a tweet and some fatso with blue hair getting mad at you. And it doesn't matter that you worked for the company for like 30 years. They don't care. They're like, oh, well, you made a tweet 7 years ago and it said tranny. And you're like, I was talking about a transmission of a car. I was talking about a 68 Chevy. And they're like, sorry, you said a slur, buddy. You're fired. Fuck you. No severance or anything. Like that's why they do it. That's why they do it. They want minimal controversy, minimal effort. They just want you to make the widget that they can sell to Walmart or whatever. And it's the same with this COVID thing. It's the same with the vaccine. They want the mandates. They love them. Southwest Airlines right now, oh yeah, they're running critical defense. Southwest Airlines goes ahead and cancels 1,000 flights, and they're like, no, it has nothing to do with the COVID. Why? Why would we need to cancel based on the mandate? It's not like a whole bunch of our staff. Yeah. Okay. Sure, Southwest Airlines just canceled 1,000 flights for no reason. They're fine with that. That's how businesses tend to operate. That's how they rationally operate. But they want this. They want this mandate, and they want to blame someone else so that you can't bitch to their HR at the end of the day. But that was just a clever, easy way to get to here. The reality becomes a little more complicated. The reality is, do we have a law? So let's see what it says. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki touted President Joe Biden's vaccine press release, directing businesses with 100 or more employees to require the COVID-19 jab as federal law on Tuesday, in an attempt to downplay efforts by Republican governors to secure medical freedom for their constituents. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an executive order on Monday banning COVID-19 shot mandates by any entity in the Lone Star State. Now, this is interesting because his ban of the mandate basically says you have to respect religious, conscientious, or medical exemptions. And one of the medical exemptions that's allowed in Texas is I already had LaCouf, therefore I don't need to be vaccinated. YouTube, I am not making a statement about vaccines. I am saying what the Texas rule says. The Texas rule says that a valid exemption to a COVID-19 vaccination is a prior infection and natural immunity. So that's what Texas is saying. It's not actually a ban on shot mandates. It's Greg Abbott's getting a lot of praise, but it's not actually a ban on shot mandates. It just means that they basically have to recognize exemptions in the state of Texas, and they've given a list of those exemptions, which it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But he didn't have much luck actually banning the shot mandates. They lost in court against the schools and the local entities that they ended up winning. So they had to do it this way. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has also taken action to prevent institutions in his state from requiring vaccine passports. Psaki, however, accused the Republican governors of putting politics ahead of public health, something that Joe Biden has been doing from the inception of his presidency, and said they are hurting Biden's goal to work to get more people vaccinated. Well, that may be true. That may be true. This goal, you can say what you want about it. I will say that it's arbitrary and not actually related to public health because, well, I can't talk about it too much. You guys know. Psaki, Texas Governor Abbott, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Our intention is to implement these requirements across the country, including in the states where there are attempts to oppose them. This is tyranny. Let's listen to this one.
Is the administration going to sue Texas over the opposing the order for the vaccine mandates? And is there a risk that the OSHA efforts essentially get tied up in litigation rather than having the immediate effect?
Well, Josh, these requirements are promulgated by federal law. So when the president announced his vaccine mandates for businesses, that, of course, we're waiting on OSHA regulations for as a next step. That was pursuant to federal law and the implementation of federal law because it's an executive order. So our intention is to implement and continue to work.
Let's be clear. There isn't an executive order accompanying this, which I'm guessing is going to be covered in the article.
To implement these requirements across the country, including in the states where there are attempts to oppose them. I will say, since you gave me the opportunity, Governor Abbott's executive order banning mandates, and I would also note announcement by Governor DeSantis this morning, essentially banning the implementation of mandates, fit a familiar pattern that we've seen of putting politics ahead of public health. Over 700,000 American lives have been lost due to COVID-19, including more than 56,000 in Florida and over 68,000 in Texas. And every leader should be focused on supporting efforts to save lives and end the pandemic. Why would you be taking steps that prevent the saving of lives, that make it more difficult to save lives?
Let's just talk about that, right? Why would you be taking steps to prevent the saving of lives? You bigot. How dare you? How dare you? When we send the officers around to every single person's household and lock them in their house for their own good, why would you oppose that? If they go outside, they're at considerably higher risk of dying. Like a tree could fall on them, they could get caught in a lightning storm, tornado could catch them while they're out running naked in a field. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, why would you want to do anything that would jeopardize lives? I don't know. I don't know. Who would oppose the taking of guns? I mean, if you just take all the guns and no one can be shot. I mean, who would oppose that? Why would anyone oppose taking of guns? You know what? We've got medically trained soldiers, and we want to put them in everybody's house. That way, if someone has a heart attack or something, a medically trained military person is right there on hand. They can go ahead and implement emergency life-saving procedures. They're all trained in CPR. Each one will be issued an AED. I can't see why anyone would oppose this policy of putting soldiers in houses. Why would you do it? Well, I don't know, bitch. Maybe it has to do with the fucking Constitution. Maybe it has to do with freedom. Maybe.
Across the country or in any state. And I would also note that vaccine requirements have been standard in both the Lone Star State, Texas, in case you're not familiar, and the Sunshine State, Florida, in schools for decades.
In schools. But the amazing thing about both the Lone Star State and the Sunshine State is that there are alternatives to school, which means that there are people who are able to circumnavigate various requirements because these requirements have never actually been implemented amongst an adult population, and no one in an adult population has ever been required to prove those requirements outside of the context of school, ever. There is no papers, please, for measles, mumps, rubella, polio, tuberculosis, HPV. That doesn't exist. It only exists in the context of the public school system. University systems are largely private, even the public-private partner ones, and they operate in a little different way. But outside of them, they don't exist. So again, this is fucking non sequitur talk here, but whatever.
Whether polio, measles, mumps, rubella, the chickenpox, there are vaccine requirements that have been implemented for decades in these states. So these decisions put these two leaders out of step with both longtime requirements, a history of vaccine mandates, but also many business leaders in their states and many businesses that are based in their states, including Disney and American Airlines. These leaders are taking steps to help boost vaccination rates, reduce deaths, reduce hospitalizations, and expand the country's labor pool. So bottom line is we're going to continue to implement the law, which the President of the United States has the ability, the authority, the legal authority to do. And we are going to continue to work to get more people vaccinated to get out of this pandemic. The President will use every lever at his disposal to do that.
So there you have it. She's right about the one thing, the business leaders in the states of Texas and Florida and every state want this. They do. They do. The big businesses, corporate government partnership and collusion is not new. It is the corrupt crony capitalism that puts that all of the communists like to cite to, even though it is much more akin to communist and socialist regimes than it is to anything resembling an actual capitalist regime. It's why China uses this sort of system, the crony capitalist, the approved capitalist. Approved capitalism is approved, comrade. Look, approved businesses will be able to be approved by the government whenever they need to be, and everything will be okay. It's why these hybridized systems work. And by work, I mean exist and persist in socialist or quasi-communist countries. And the fact that it's here and being touted as capitalism and derided, for rightly so, derided as a bad thing, but blamed on capitalism so that communist or socialist policies can actually implement it at a much broader scale is just the stupidity of the people listening at the end of the day. But that being said, the business leaders are absolutely on board. Absolutely on board. They want this. They've wanted this forever. She also claimed that Biden's order is federal law that supersedes any order by a state government. Again, this is not actually how executive orders work. I was really struggling. I did some preliminary research on federal supremacy in Westlaw prior to the stream, looking for a case that supported a federal executive order over an existing state law or state executive order, and I could not find one. In fact, all of the Supreme Court jurisprudence that I was able to review, and there could be something out there. I did not do a law review article, like multi-week study, longitudinal study of this or anything like that. I did a cursory look through. I could not find where a federal executive order trumped the state executive order or a state law. In fact, every bit of jurisprudence I found suggested that it had to be a Congress-generated law or a regulation that would have been created under a congressional law, which created the regulatory entity. That's why they're trying to get this through OSHA. They're going to say that OSHA provides them a sufficient level of supremacy because OSHA would likely win versus state law health regulations in the workplace. The question is, was that intended to apply to vaccine mandates? We'll have to see what the federal courts end up saying on that when it's inevitably challenged. But part of the problem with all this is that no one's been able to challenge it because there isn't actually a law to challenge. There isn't something that the states can bring to the federal court system and say, we're suing because this is a violation of the Supremacy Clause. Because there isn't a law. When you make a choice, it's against all public health information and data out there. All of it. Remember, guys, it is against all of it. Not just the approved sources, the approved and the unapproved sources. It's not based on what is in the interest of the people you are governing. Because the only interest that the people you're governing have is public health. That is the only interest of the governed. And she's not that wrong here. The way this is working out right now, Psaki is more right than I'm comfortable with. Because you can talk to any number of people who have been pressured by friends and loved ones on their health decisions in a way they never have before. Never have. Ever have people been pressured the way they're getting pressure from friends and family right now on these personal health decisions. So I think Psaki's right. They've done a very effective job of making normal people scared out of their fucking reasonability over this virus. They're terrified of it. Good, normal people, absolutely terrified of going outside, of going to the store, of running in to their fellow citizen. And they will sacrifice every notion of freedom and decency that they have for the purpose of getting someone else's healthcare decisions influenced. She said, ignoring ignoring all the data that we can't talk about. I'm not going to talk about this. This is not my thing. It's just in the article, even though President Biden falsely claimed it does last week. So Jen Psaki tells Nancy Cordes that politics is the reason Governor Abbott banned vaccine mandates in the state. Make a choice. It's against all public health information data out there. We listened to basically this, so I'm not going to play it again. As the Federalist Joy Pullman previously noted, Biden's so-called vaccine mandate doesn't exist, at least not yet. There is no executive order. There's nothing but press statements, Pullman wrote last week. Despite what you may have been falsely led to believe by the media fantasy projection machine, press statements have exactly zero legal authority. This is actually wrong. This is wrong. Press statements can have legal authority. They can have legal impact, and you can actually sue based on press statements by a government. Now, in this case, they're right. In this case, especially in a case of federal supremacy, a press statement is not going to have the force of law sufficient to overcome state executive orders or state law. Absolutely right. But I do want to clarify that government press statements can have legal authority and can have legal impact. Absolutely, they can. So while we're being precise and being critical, we need to do that. Weeabu says EOs are nothing without legislation. By my understanding, that's not true. Executive orders have traditionally carried the weight of law, so long as they are within the purview of the executive power. They have since George Washington. They do not need legislation to back them up. They can carry the force of law. They're limited in scope, right? There are conflicting federal powers. The separation and balance of powers, checks and balances in the Constitution ensure that, like, a president cannot pass a tax that's not authorized by Congress. Can't do it through executive order. But can a president in the time of war issue something as commander in chief? Yes. Did George Washington basically do that to the Continental Army, in which people are now using as proof that vaccine mandates have a long storied history from American presidents? I mean, Washington did that with the Constitution, with the Continental Militia. A little bit different times we're talking about there, but he did it, and it had the force of law for them, sure. But that was his commander-in-chief power. That's a power delegated to him in wartime by Article 2 of the Constitution, right? As commander-in-chief, he has ultimate authority over the military. And the military at the time, the Continental Militia, just happened to be basically all males, 15 to 45, who could lift a gun or stand. So, yeah, Weeaboo, sorry, I'm not meaning to pick on you. I just happened to notice it. And it's an interesting question because people tend to overplay or underplay the value of all of these things, of executive orders, of treaties, of executive agreements, of regulatory actions. And the answer to all of this is it's really, really complicated, and it depends heavily on what's going on. Stuff just is not black and white the way they want it to. They want to convince everybody that everything's black and white and very simple answers, but they're not. That's why lawyers exist. We exist because there's so much gray, and we make things even more complicated because it gets us paid. Okay. Psaki later acknowledged that an official enforceable rule from the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, is not here, but promised that it is coming. She said could offer no expectation of when it'll be finalized. Well, for one, it won't have the force of law until it's actually recorded in the Federal Register. And there tends to require some level of public comment, some delay. I've read stuff. I am not an expert on this, but I've read stuff that suggests that it needs to be 6 months from authorship and adoption before it actually has the legal force of law behind it. The question, though, is that going to matter? Because it's the enforcement on this isn't coming from the feds. It's coming from the companies who have been who are begging for the feds to do this. I would say that requiring and mandating for businesses of 100 people or over vaccines is not a small task. That is a big, bold proposal idea and something that we want to implement with as much clarity as we can, she said. We know there will be questions even after these rules are put out. We understand that, but that's why we wanted to take a little bit of time, not too much time, to get it done. So she comes out and she says they don't have a rule, they don't have a law, they don't have an order, they don't have a regulation, they don't have anything. But at the end of the day, is it going to matter? Because your employer will implement the mandate. Your employer will be the jackboot. Your employer will do this. Doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter. The government doesn't have to do it because they got someone else to do it for them. They got someone else to take care of it. Okay. Let's do let's do this one. This was an interesting story from the fake land of Australia. I hope that covers it, guys. I don't really want to belabor the federal supremacy thing too much. The question of whether, let me just summarize. There isn't currently a law or regulation, rule, or order that suggests that the mandates actually exist in a legal capacity. That doesn't exist yet. It's not real. It's not there. But since this is all being implemented at the private level anyway, the practical effect of there not being a law isn't that much. If you are opposed to the mandate, then I strongly suggest that you go grab the form letter from Robert Barnes's locals page. Does he have his own? Does he have his own locals page, or is it just vivabarneslaw.locals.com? I know Viva Barnes has one, but if Barnes has his own, it's on one or maybe both of them. He has a form letter for exemptions, religious-based exemptions, which people misunderstand. The religious-based exemption does not require you to have a religious belief, just a seriously held personal conviction on the subject. And you should check out Barnes's letter. I have heard that it has been very successful for people in getting the types of exemptions that are necessary. That's your best bet right now, because your employers are the ones who are implementing this, not the government. So you don't have a 1983 claim. You don't have a civil rights violation from your government. You don't have some sort of government overreach. It hasn't happened yet. They're more effective than that. They're getting better. They're getting better. And our courts are behind. So our courts are not going to say that these are state actors implementing state level decisions. Because at the end of the day, like, let's say you sue American Airlines over the vaccine mandate, and you say they're acting as state actors because they're implementing the government thing and they're doing the enforcement. Therefore, they're the state actor. And the court will go, state actor for what? There isn't a rule. There isn't a law that they're enforcing. There isn't an executive order that they're enforcing. They're choosing to, they're lying about their motives. They're saying that they're doing it because the government's making them, but the government isn't making them. They're just doing it. That means they're not state actors. So that's the problem, and how we've got to get around this weird fucking thing. is that you've got this and how God damn it. You've got the problem that there is no state action. There's just a bunch of people blaming the state. They're just lying. And lying is bad, but lying is typically not going to be the source of a lawsuit on something like this. So I hope that helps answer the questions about this. I've discussed it about as effectively as we can. But federal supremacy, first they got to pass an actual law, rule, or order, and then we get to challenge it. And once we do that, if they do this by executive order, they're going to have a problem with the federal supremacy clause because it can't find jurisprudence that says that executive orders are supreme to anything. And then if it's a regulation, then they have a different set of issues. They have to show that Congress intended that type of regulation to have supremacy, or Congress has to expressly have provided it. And I'm not sure, even though they're going to try and do it through employee safety, through OSHA, I'm not sure that Congress that they can competently argue that Congress intended that to include a vaccine mandate. Robert Stratton says, was there an EO for the federal contractors, though? Not to my knowledge. So here, this is from the fake land of Australia. I apologize that you'll have to deal with their weird fucking backwards accents, but it's very important to see what's going on here.
Do you agree that you put some posts on Facebook? Does this look familiar?
This is illegal as. Yep.
Did you put this on Facebook?
Yep.
So the question that's...
Let me immediately disagree with this person. The question asked by the Aussie Fed or whatever was, do you agree that you put some posts on Facebook? And he says, yeah. Yep, I did. What's Facebook? I've never heard of it. Well, it's that social media site, right? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I use Facebook. Facebook is completely... I've never even heard of Facebook. I can't read. Fuck you. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't talk to these people. Don't talk to the cops. Don't admit to anything. You didn't do anything wrong. Fuck them. Fuck them forever. Right in their goddamn mouths. Fuck them. They don't deserve your assistance in oppressing you.
Been raised is, were you there?
Oh, no comment. Yeah.
Is that you? Or...
Well,
Were you there?
well, does it matter?
Yeah,
You're
well,
handing me
I'm not-
paperwork saying I've sent a photo.
I'm not handing you anything. I'm asking you a question.
Well-
Okay. So she's asking, was it you? Were you there? So if you're confused, these posts are about a protest. So they're asking if this guy who posted about a protest was actually at the protest 6 months ago. And he says, does it matter? Are you going to hand me that paperwork? And she's like, oh no, I'm not handing you anything. I'm not handing you paperwork. We're just talking. Just talking. Just us with our guns and our badges and you in your home. We're just talking. Just a friendly conversation. No, thank you. Fuck off. I've never even heard of a protest. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do, but can you please kindly go die in a gutter? No. Guys, tell them no. Stop. Don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. Here we go.
Well, you've got the photo, don't you? So
That doesn't... You've put a photo on Facebook doesn't actually confirm whether you were there or not. So I'm asking, were you
so
there?
if I say no, you're not going to give me the paperwork. You're going to go home, are
There's
you?
no paperwork here to give you. This is my
Okay. So
information.
what are we here for?
We're
Are
here
you here
to
to serve me,
Okay,
or
what part didn't... No.
Intimidation.
yeah, I know it's just
What are you laughing
it's
for?
loserish. It is like sad.
I'm doing...
What is this?
Did you hear the fucking cop? Are you laughing? You laughing? Yes. I'm laughing. This guy's right. It's loserish. You're a fucking loser. Fuck you. You laughing? You laughing? These are our official duties. Why are you here? Why are you here? But look at this guy. This guy is just a ball of rage waiting. He's just, you laughing at us? You laughing at us? Don't give these people the time of day. I really like the guy taking the video. He makes a couple mistakes, but overall, I like him, and he's right.
Humanity, where are we going in life? You've got the cops coming around here to tell me that I've been in a protest
No, to ask
6
you if
months
you have
ago.
been. To ask you if you have been.
Well,
And
who
why?
gives
That's
a
not
fuck?
6
It's how
months ago.
illegal is that?
Which part?
Going to a protest. Why are you guys here? Why is
Because
the
you're
police
mass
on my
gathering.
doorstep
You're-
about a protest?
Yeah. Because
Why?
it's illegal.
Black Lives Matter protests fucking 2 weeks before that.
Yeah,
Yeah, was that illegal? Are you knocking on their doors?
maybe.
No, you're not.
You're not.
So
There's a Black Lives Matter protest 2 weeks before that. Is that illegal? Are you knocking on their door? Maybe. No, you're fucking not. You're a liar. You're a liar. It's because it's about control. It's about control, and you are not complying, citizen. The Black Lives Matter protesters, they're complying. They always have been. They're effective. They're right? The government is wrong. The government is wrong. They're just bad actors in the government. We as a government, we love black people. Look at all of our policies that help them so much. We love the blacks. No, let's not talk about that. You though, you were at a COVID protest or a lockdown protest. Oh, no. The government is right there. That's not a bad officer who shot a black person. That's you defying the government's will. That's different. Okay. Let's talk about your behavior here.
it's clearly so imitating. Why are you working for this corrupt government? What are you guys doing? Who are you serving? Are you serving us or are you serving the corrupt government and health officials? They want no good for you. They're not there for you.
Were you there?
What?
Were you there?
You can answer my question, can't you?
No, we
No,
can't answer your
that's the
question.
whole
Well, I won't
reason we're
answer
here.
that.
Were you there? Were you there? Were you there? Were you there? You can't answer my question, can it? No, we can't. Fuck you. Fuck you. By the way, I know what he's getting at, but his rant about corrupt government, it's pretty funny. You were definitely there, bro. We can tell you were there.
Okay.
I'll just no comment it.
All right.
Like, what are we here for?
Well, what part of when I...
What the fuck do you want from me?
What did you understand when I first told you why we're here?
Well, you're asking if I'm at a protest 6 months ago.
Yes.
I don't recall. I do not recall.
We've been asking...
I don't
you
recall.
here
I'm sorry.
Because of crimes, anonymous
I don't
crime service
recall.
report.
I don't recall.
Well, then we'll end the conversation. Unless
Yeah.
you want to say...
We're asking you because of a crimes anonymous report. There it is. Citizens reported you. Your fellow citizens reported you for wrong behavior. And we are following up on your bad behavior. Were you there? Were you there? Your fellow citizen said you were there. Were you there? Were you there? Don't talk to these people. Don't talk to them. This is a purportedly Western free democracy. You should have the right to assemble. You should have the right to protest. But you don't. You don't have that. You only have that if it's an approved protest.
Anything else?
Go ask Andrews.
What's your reason for breaching the show direction?
What are you talking about? I don't recall any health directions, mate. I don't watch that bullshit on the TV.
Notice what she pivots to. What's your reason for breaking the health directives? I don't know anything about it. I never heard of it. I mean, I thought I maybe heard of it, but I haven't. I was wrong. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Don't trust these people. It starts in the penal colonies, y'all. It starts in the penal colonies. It's coming for the West, for all of it. It's coming for all of it. It's coming to Europe. It's coming to Canada. It's coming to the United States. It's all coming. You've seen it. You've seen the difference. The Summer of Love versus January 6th. That alone should be enough to show you that look, approved protesting is approved. Approved protesting, calling out a government actor for a violation of government policy that ends up with a black person in the ground, that is an acceptable protest. But protesting the government policy itself, the government edict, that is not allowed. No, no, no. And those distinct differences are everything that matter. Everything that matter in how the government is going to respond to protesting, how they're going to respond to assembly, how they're going to classify people as protesters versus domestic terrorists. All of that matters. And it's literally, does the government approve of your protest message? And they approve of Black Lives Matter. They approve of Antifa. Of course they do. Of course they approve of those things. Those people are useful to them. Those people require government control. They ask for it. They beg for it. They want intervention. They want government to come down and fix the problems. They want to be regulated. It's the people who don't want to be regulated that are always the problem of tyrannical regimes. Why would tyranny resist a call for more tyranny? That'll never make sense. They will always be on the side of Antifa. They will always be on the side of the useful idiot because that benefits them and their power. The few people that will get arrested from an Antifa or Black Lives Matter rally, of course, are on video destroying some government property. Just some, though. If it's a statue of an old racist, well, they can destroy that all day. Who cares? Who cares? Only certain things. If it's a police car, well, no one was in it, right? Those two lawyers in New York who Molotov cocktailed a police cruiser. Got get this little slap on the wrist. I think one of them got no jail time. The other one, and I think they both still have their licenses even. If not, one of them got mildly disciplined and might have had a suspended law license, but I can't remember. It's a fucking joke. It's a disaster. But you don't get that protection. That is a very, very important thing for you to understand and remember. That is a very, very important thing for you to remember, is that you don't get that protection because you can't just accidentally destroy some government property. No, 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 no. You are opposed to the government. You are on the wrong side of history, and therefore you will suffer the consequences. You will not get the sweetheart deal. Ask the January 6th people. Yeah, I mean, you can't really ask them. Just look at them. Look at what's happening to them. So you should know that when you go to a protest, that when you go and do anything, that you will not, you your civil disobedience is not approved. And therefore, your civil disobedience will be punished. Know what you're getting into. Do not think that you are part of the socialist student movement that has been pervasive through this country for the past 40 years and has no more sacrifice left to give. They don't have to sacrifice anything because all of these people agree with them. They were all doing it 25, 30 years ago. Now they're just getting the opportunity to pay it forward and to protect them. They won't be expelled for a sit-in at a student union. They won't be expelled for occupying a student government building. They won't be expelled for just outright skipping all of their classes. They won't be expelled for calling for lower grading standards for African American students. In fact, not only will they not be expelled, the teachers who don't comply will be fired. They will be given the deference because the people who are in power had the same ideas years and years ago, and this is their chance to implement it and shield and protect them. You need to wait longer than your lifespan before you will have that opportunity. So just fair warning. If you're going to go attend a protest, if you're going to talk about this stuff on social media, you will be punished. They will not. I guess that's about it. I gotta read chats, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. There are some chats out there. Let's see. New merch. Fuck you. Okay. Lion King intro singer says, Na Sawenya Mamacidi Baba. Thanks, I guess. Silky Johnson says, Nick, the new trajectory of the channel is an interesting twist. So it's now vagina-splaining the interwebs with Nick Rekieta. Speaking of vaginas, I guarantee you Jen Suckies, who always looks like she's wearing a skin suit, probably has a Venus flytrap one. Gross. Disgusting. But yes, I will vagina explain to everybody. Bad Dragonite says, I can make the John Kent thing worse. He was technically a preteen until recently. He went on a journey through space with his grandpa and got artificially aged up due to space shenanigans like a year ago, if I recall correctly. And then he says, actually, I just checked. John Kent was 10 until 2019 when they artificially aged him up to his current age of 17 in the comics. I mean, what does it matter? So he's 11. He's 11, kissing the boys. It doesn't. None of this matters. It's all bullshit. They hate you. They hate you. They hate you. They hate everything you stand for. They hate what you believe. Silky Johnson says, Nick, if Congress did pass a law that had a jab mandate and federal supremacy applies, would states sue? Yes. Would it be even worth it? I mean, they'd probably lose, but they could try. And what would be the argument that they could use? 10th Amendment, state sovereignty, the right of the people to make up their own minds. Yeah, all of those, except if the federal government, if Congress passed a law, had the authority to pass, they would also just say that Congress doesn't have the authority to pass a law that they did. Congress would pass it under the Commerce Clause or something like that. And then, and that would be their authority. And then they would expressly state that they wanted federal supremacy on it. And then the question would be, do they have the authority to pass the law in the first place? If they have the authority, then they have the authority to supersede state law. But all that authority has to come from the Constitution. So the law itself has to be constitutional, which is not much hope, by the way. The Supreme Court absolutely sucks on that issue. So cheers. Uriah Wright says, Nick, here's some shekels for setting fire on YouTube yesterday. No, thank you. Crusader Saracen says, oh, how eloquent a whore can be when she lectures on federal supremacy. Eldon Bainling says, Nick, I watched Greenwich Village, 1944, and Vivian Blaine is such a gorgeous redhead. Cynthia Brimhall doesn't hold a candle to her. Facts. Okay. Super Mastermind says, sadly, they can change the rules at YouTube at will. They can. Eldon Bainling says, I love the slow-mo and I'm telling Viva to do more. You are awful. You are the problem with the world. Mark Hill says, let's go, Brandon. Trivia Aficionado says, hey, Nick, sorry YouTube is being so shitty to you. I mean, it comes with the turf. Not Applicable says, it's the Ralph beat-off army. There's 100 shat pants. Pirate Tomsky says, 3DIO and a fat guy voice for the win. I lick your ear, but there's no chocolate on it. Malik Foxon says, I'm downvoting this stream if you buy those. Organized Arizona Politics says, damn, $2,000 on an ASMR mic, lol. I get my settlement for my motorcycle accident in June on Thursday. Finally get my Savage 110 300 Win Mag rifle and my 2021 Dodge Charger. I'll be sure to send you love too. Well, man, again, take care of yourself before me. You worry about you. I'll appreciate if you send me something, but I'll appreciate if you don't too. Vienticus Prime says, someone needs to tell these companies that ads make me less inclined to buy their crap. I see an ad on YouTube. My thought is they got enough customers. Eldon Bainling says, I take no responsibility for anything I type. Pfft, me too. Me too. Not Applicable says, make a laptop with OBS, record your stream, ding dong. I mean, but yeah, I can do. What do you mean? Do you mean set up a separate recording to record the stream window from YouTube? I mean, I guess I could do that. I guess I could do that. I don't know. Random NPC number 3 says, Nick, have considered simul streaming to Entropy? No. They have uncensored chat and you can sign up with your YouTube or Google account in a few clicks. No, I've not. Malik Foxon says, I can't believe I have to worry about getting you banned now based on something I say. What nonsense is this? YouTube doesn't get Section 230 anymore. They still do, though. They still do. They don't extend it to anybody else, but they do. Not Applicable says, first world white man YouTuber problems, violin and a broken heart. Yeah, they are. Ellie In says 2 shots at 1,000 dislikes. I'd challenge the chat, but you'd actually pull it off. Mick B 123 says, do your best Jimmy Durant impression. I don't know how to do that. Ishailson says, born and raised in New York, we were taught that the natives were basically peace-loving, super united, wolf-dancing, uber peaceful people. Ooh, boy, did I learn things after leaving school. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they were great. Leo Bergman says, hi, Nick, longtime fan of yours. First chat. Hey, thank you, Leo. Wanted to let you take part in my birthday celebrations. Keep up what you're doing. Cheers from the Germans. Ah, Leo, happy birthday, buddy. I hope you have a good one. I really do. Cars in Depth says, giving smallpox infected blankets to Siberian Americans is a myth. Yeah, I don't care. See Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel or Charles Mann's 1491. Gummy says, as Jesse Ventura, listen, Nick, I ain't got time to bleed, and I've got 63 documents proving the Clintons were out to get my collection of Cuban cigars. Very true. Very true. The Allfather says, hey, Nick, been a while since I joined one of your live streams. Hey, welcome. I have to know Have you done the album of 80 songs with Lemoyne's voice yet? Someone else did it. The guy who was sending all the super chats did it. I think it's called Lemon Sings the 80s, but you can find it on YouTube. Thomas Gabriel White says, my solution to YouTube censorship is to get everyone to talk about the banned subjects. So they can either ban everyone or stop censoring people. But they won't. They won't do it. Mel Klomp says that, and by they won't, I mean YouTube won't ban everybody. They'll always hold it as a selective censor. When they want to ban you, they will. Mel Klomp says, I make this gay dyke furious. Or I makes this gay dyke furious. The thing with YouTube is like, this is not a call or anything like that. But I mean, Tim Pool walks the line, right? Tim Pool walks the line on this stuff. He's not getting banned. He's not eating 7-day suspensions. Why? I mean, there's some good reasons. YouTube has a list. Twitch has a list. YouTube has a list. I mean, sure, he can transgress and get the strike. It can happen. It can happen. Absolutely. He's careful. But my comment didn't violate the policy. That's the most important thing that I want to get out there is that, like, I've rewatched the clip of me talking about the alleged bannable content. I've rewatched it several times. I cannot find where I violated the content. Not only that, my YouTube partner manager and her support escalation team have watched the content and they can't figure it out either. They can't. They agree. They're like, this doesn't make sense because you didn't actually violate the policy as far as we can tell. And I said, I know. I didn't. I had no reason to. It was an offhanded comment. And I said to my partner manager today, I said, you know, I rewatched that thing right before our phone call. And any day of the week, I would say the exact same thing. I wasn't like setting out to talk about the subject. I wasn't having to go around like I saw a different YouTube creator talking about candy and, candy that was maybe invalid and people wanting valid candy. Like I've seen some great and clever ways to get around the policy. And I wasn't doing any of that because nothing I said was even close to violating the policy. It never occurred to me in 100 different shows, I would say the exact same thing and not even bat an eye, not even blink about it. Why would I? I didn't do it. And she said, I know, I agree. There's nothing in there that violates the policy. So, it's about there's something else to it all. But there are other people who fly closer to violating the actual policy. They don't get hit by it. I'm not sure why I made the list. I don't actually say anything that dangerous. But apparently I did. Apparently I'm on the list. And yeah. Not the good one though. Not the do not ban list. I'm not on that one. I can't figure out why. I asked my person, I said, please, figure out what list I'm on and get me. What do I have to do? Get me off of it. I want to be off the list. I want to make a video and have the appropriate amount of people watch it. I want all of those things that every other YouTuber gets. And that's great. Like guys, Andy Singler passed 210,000 subs. I mean, Andy's a nice guy and all, but Like, really though? Okay. I guess. Thornock Gaming says, when it comes on how to do a video with the chat on a different service, record both the chat and the video and have an editor put them together into a new video. It's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. I liked being able to preserve the chat in YouTube because then you can search it. You can search it. It was such a cool thing. It was so simple. But it doesn't exist anymore. Wick Dipper said, well, I mean, it does exist. It just doesn't exist for me until we figure out what the fuck is going on. Wick Dipper says, ever seen a bulldog eating mayonnaise? Some be like that. Ew. Rob Tyke says, if you commit a crime in front of a judge while being tried for a crime, can they add it to your charges, or do you have to be tried for that one later? You typically would have to be tried for it later, although the judge could hold you in contempt, depending on your act. Mandy Karavikis says, Nick, do you have a Rackets Ricada family heirloom you would like to show off? Do you have a story behind it, and how do your kids earn the right to have it passed down? The only kind of heirlooms we have a Ricada baptismal gown that like my dad and his siblings wore, fucking 60 years ago. That I think I wore it and my kids wore it. So we have that. I don't know. It's not really heirloomy or passed down. It's just all the baptized babies wear it. I have a Catholic family Bible, I guess is kind of an heirloom. But other than that, not really. I mean, there's not really. I don't know. If we did, it'd be gaudy. I'm sure. My grandmother Ricada had some pretty gaudy, and well, both grandmothers had some pretty gaudy taste. So I don't know. There isn't really a family heirloom though. Ron Crossman says Barnes filed a lawsuit against Tyson Foods. Are you able to cover it, or is it too hot for YouTube? I can maybe cover it. Is Tyson based in Minnesota? Any chance of getting him on again soon? Probably. I'm waiting till I'm back on my normal channel to invite guests on. I did invite Joe Neerman on tonight. Since I was going to be broadcasting from StreamYard, I said if he wanted to crash tonight, he could, but he said he was really, really tired and probably wasn't going to be able to, but he might come on tomorrow. But when I'm back on the main channel, I'm going to be hitting guests again. I was in the process of setting up a show with Styx, Hexenhammer, 666. So hopefully Styx and I will have, that'll be a daytime show. Still trying to work out a show with Gothic X. Still trying to work out a show with Jack Murphy, who said he'd be interested in coming on, but I haven't been able to get through to him yet. So I might need to send an email or something to follow up. But I've been waiting on getting back on the main channel because I don't really want to do a show with a guest over here. I like those being on the main channel. Malik Foxon says, politics before public health. Let me remind you how many people died from COVID once again. Wave that in your face. Chant it like a cultist mantra. Did you guys see that? Real quick, this is a side thing, but it not everybody sees what I put on Twitter. Thank God. That's healthy. That's healthy. But was it this one? Oh, Jesus. No. Hold on. Where was it? What were we talking about? Oh yeah. This is it. Here we go. Illinois VA nursing home didn't follow federal guidelines to contain COVID. Right? Oh, fucking hell. Just a second. We'll do this real quick. Search. This is the best television ever. Fuck. Anyway, okay, so I'm not gonna be able to pull up the story. I can pull it up on my phone for some reason, but not here. But the reality is simple. An Illinois nursing home didn't follow COVID guidelines, and a bunch of old people died. And the question is, okay, now do New York, now do New Jersey, do the places where they actually put old people in there to go kill everybody, to go kill other people. Like, do that. Talk about those, but they won't, right? You can't talk about Cuomo. You can't talk about what they did, how they killed the old people. Now it's bad to kill the old people in the nursing homes. It wasn't before, but it is now, but only for certain people. Well, they didn't follow federal guidelines. Are they mad that they didn't kill enough old people by following the federal guidance? I don't know. Malik Foxon says, case in point, had to leave my family's group chat because they keep insisting that I take the vax, even though they know I already got the coof. Yeah, again, it's a whole new world now, where people have taken the biggest interest in other people's health that they've ever taken in their life. It's weird. Marty Lund says, you should talk to Barnes about jurisprudence on the Skinner decision here. We definitely have state pressure and immunities at play. Derna 1804 says, even the Taliban had the courtesy to leave the paperwork when they left somebody a night letter. Oh. Crusaders Arison says, oh Allah the Most High, find the snitches and cops and destroy them. Oh Allah the Most Merciful, count their heads and do not spare a single one of them. No one important says, this reminds me of the whole do not ban list leak from Twitch. Rules for thee, but not for me. Yeah, and that shouldn't surprise anybody that they have a list of people that they apply the rules differently to. I mean, it's not fair and it's not just, but you know, that's the way of the world, is that people who either bring in a bunch of money or are valuable in some way to a company get different treatment. They just do. But it does suck when you get banned for what they should be banned for. Joshua Sanabria says, just realize there's actually a word for what your nose looks like aquiline, like Julius Caesar, render under Caesar the grift that is Caesar's. Yes, the Roman nose. I get that from time to time. Night Stalker says, Nick, your take on Friday the 13th lawsuit. I have no idea what the Friday the 13th lawsuit is. Is it about the movie? Or is it about something else? I honestly have not even heard of it. I have no idea. So that's what I got for you guys. That's the end of the show. I guess we'll be over on Twitch in a little bit. It's game night. I might play a game, might watch a movie, might do both. We'll see how it goes. But we'll we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm going into it with game night in intention, but we'll see. These steroids did not kick in. I do not feel a bunch of roid rage. I do not feel wide awake. They told me it would keep me up all night. I feel like I could lay down and go to sleep right now. But we'll see. The rights to Friday the 13th were reclaimed under copyright law. Amazing. I'll have to check it out. I'll have to check it out because that's got some interesting implications probably with the lawsuits in comics right now to reclaim the Marvel properties. And if Disney loses those Marvel properties, or if Marvel loses the rights to those properties, it could be really, really bad for them. So, yeah. Well, I'm not going to start New World tonight. I don't have it bought and download or anything. So, Crusader Saracen says your nose has nothing on that one dude from Turkey. 8.8 centimeters. That's like there. Do you know? Like that is so much nose. Why are you questioning what TOS you broke? You're the new weatherman. Wind are just God sneezing. Better pay me my money, Susan. Well, my payments are not being withheld at the current time. So, well, we'll figure it out. Like I said, I bring you. I do everything as transparently as possible. So when I can give people insight into what's going on at YouTube, according to what's going on with me, I'm going to do it. Right. Like that's, I don't, there's no reason for people to be kept in the dark by all this stuff. People should know what they're getting. They should know how they're being treated, talked about, manipulated. If it's good or bad, they should know. And if I can share and shed light on it, I will. Crusader Saracen says he is Nostradamus. You are a false prophet. That guy's nose is amazing. Amazing. Okay, guys. I will catch you guys either over on Twitch or I'll catch you tomorrow. Remember, I'll be on Quarter Black Show. We'll be discussing Event Horizon, 7 p.m. Central Time. And you should check that out. It should be a fun, completely different style of conversation than a legal one. It's an entertainment one. And I really do enjoy Event Horizon. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm going to try and get convince Lady Rackets to watch it with me tomorrow before the show so that it's fresh in my mind. And I will be balancing that out with Live Chat Wednesday, which should happen tomorrow as well. So we'll catch you guys there. Otherwise, like I said, I'll be over on Twitch thoughting it up. So if you want to hang out with me over there, we can do that. All right, guys. Again, I need to figure out what to do about an outro. I don't have one, so I'm just going to play. I'm going to play this. So catch you guys later. Peace. Your Honor, I'm pretty sure we have a mistrial here, sir.
I'm going to mistrial my foot up your ass. You don't shut up.